Hi guys, this is a 3 turn, no enemy turn run on Act 3 Chapter 8.2. I did this run because I saw a few videos where everyone were using Braska's FR and the FR percentage bonus got pretty high very quickly. I didn't have a Braska FR, so instead what I did is do a main party of Garnet, Terra and Penelo and get a friend Braska unit. And this also means that if you don't have any FR, then this is potentially a good run up for you because you don't need an FR in your main party. Anyway, the starting turn order that I had is Garnet, Terra and Penelo, and you probably won't need many soft resets to do this because the speed tier between the 3 characters are quite different, so you'll likely get this starting turn order anyway. Garnet starts off her turn using the Lulu base call, and I think one mistake I did is I should have just used the Lulu LD call here as well. I was saving it for later, but you don't actually need to. And then Garnet went into Peridot Thunderflash and BT+. Now Terra has second turn, so on Terra's turn, what I do is immediately just go into AA into LD, and I'm actually using all but one of her LD right here. The goal with Terra on this turn is to actually try to whittle down the Yu Pagodas as much as possible, but do note that you do need to save her final LD use for the last part of the fight. You can also use the Seed Rain's base call on Terra just to get a little bit more damage in, but you do need to save the Seed Rain's LD call again for the later parts of the fight. It's also quite important that as Terra is going through her LD into meltdowns, you do have to break the enemies in the right turn order so that you can break delay all 3 of them. To keep the turn count low, what I did is always refresh Terra's LD on her final free turn so that the turn count remains at 2. Just a quick note that my party is pretty well built here because both Terra and Garnet has 5/5 ultimate weapons, and unfortunately to make it into a 3 turn run, I think you do need to have the 5/5 ultimate weapons. So here I'm about to pass turn to Penelo, and I ended Terra's turn using her BT+. Unfortunately, I had to BT+ one of the Yu Pagodas, which I think isn't ideal. I was hoping to be able to land the BT+ on Braska's final Aeon, but anyway, it still worked out in the end. Anyway, here I'm about to enter into Penelo's turn, and with Penelo as usual, her role here is just to charge the FR gauge to 100%, as well as do some little bit of chip damage by triggering Garnet's overhead on the boss. That's it, let's go into disco time. So while Penelo is just twirling round and round, quick mention about this part of the fight. So here again, I'm just spamming her S1 and S2. You don't need Penelo's LD. You do need Penelo with a minimum force level of 10, which will then allow her to significantly charge up the force gauge whenever she uses her S1 or S2. I gave Penelo a Raijin LD call mainly so that you can prevent Braska's final Aeon from landing a Petrify in phase 2. That's quite important because you'll be actually entering phase 2 in force time, and if you get petrified, you will waste 1 valuable turn of force time. I think out of these 3 calls that I use here, which is Seed Rains, Lulu as well as Raijin, the only flexible call is actually Lulu. You can make do with either a Lulu base call or an Ignis LD call, but the other 2 calls are unfortunately mandatory. As far as the Braska friend support, all you really need is a Braska friend support with force level 30 as well as the FR ability, of course, because you'll be using it to enter into force time. It doesn't really matter whether it's a 3-turn or 5-turn friend, a 3-turn friend is actually sufficient, so you should be able to find a suitable Braska support. Braska's only role here is to enter force time for you and your party. Okay, so at this point Penelo is dry, so I swap her out for the Braska friend support, and then right before I go into summon mode, I use his additional ability just to get the bonus boost up. I pop summon here because I do not want to increase the turn count any further. If you're not too fast for the turn count, you can wait a little bit more. However, you must pop summon before ending phase 1, so before the boss reaches 1% health on this phase. Otherwise, you will eat a Jacked Bomber Plus and you will likely wipe. So here I used the Lulu LD call on Garnet, but like I said, I think that was a mistake. I should have actually used it at the start of the fight, which will then allow me one additional turn inside summon mode to deal some extra damage rather than using the Lulu LD call. A little bit on hindsight as well, I guess hindsight is always 2020, is that I actually shouldn't have used Braska's additional ability at all, because I actually mistimed Garnet's overhead and I started Terra's BT mode with only 1 stack of her overhead, which means that if I didn't use Braska's AA, I could have had 2 overhead attacks during Terra's burst mode, which would be a little bit more in terms of damage. Anyway, right here is where I finally enter into force time with Braska because my summon mode is about to end. And very nicely here, before entering into Terra's burst mode, the first 3 turns of force time is where I do a little bit of damage while I complete my setup. So I did a Seed Rain's LD call on Terra to get his aura up and allow me to launch with Terra. And then on the final turn of summon, I use Terra's final LD skill. This would then allow you to go into her burst mode with 3 skills ready. So there is one more turn left on the force time, so I use Terra's EX here before going to burst mode. With this, I'm down to 7 turns of force time, which is ideal, so this is where I go into Terra's burst mode. The goal of Terra's burst is to actually kill off the boss, and here you must kill Braska's final Aeon within this burst mode, because the moment you exit burst mode, you will eat a Jacked Bomber Plus in the face, and likely Terra and Braska will die from that attack. Braska's FR works really well because his FR conditional increases each time you end a turn with full health, which is plus 15%, and each time you do a fire attack, it's plus 20%. So this means that every turn inside FR, I can increase the bonus by 35%, which really racks up damage pretty quickly. The key is to keep Terra's EX and LD as the last 2 attacks inside her BT, because those attacks deal more damage. Plus, using her LD last will ensure that you also end Terra's burst mode without increasing the turn count. So I am cutting it pretty close because I used Terra's BT finisher when the boss has 11% HP left, which is about 5.5 million HP, but luckily it is still enough damage to kill off the boss. Anyway, that's it for this fight. As always, if you enjoy the content, do leave a like, comment or subscribe, it really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Shinryu fight. Bye!